The clock on the wall says it's 7 o'clock. I will call the July 11th, 2018 Lisle Library District Board of Trustees meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Marjorie Bartelli.
Here.
Jay Fisher.
Here.
Richard Flint.
Here.
Thomas Hummel.
Here.
Liz Sullivan.
Here.
Emily Swistak.
Here.
Laurie Wang.
Here.
Quorum being present, we'll move to item 2, opportunity for visitors to speak. Anyone in the audience wish to address the board on any topic, they have 5 minutes. Anyone wish to? Sir, can you come up to the microphone, please?
Oh, that's the power.
Is that a safety issue there?
It's the only place we can plug it in.
Good evening.
Mike.
Did everybody bring their past 12 months worth of the treasurer's report with them? I have a question related to the treasurer's report. In particular, the area of special reserve. If you look at the special reserve on your June report, the ending balance is $2,009,000 and change. And I know that during the year, the $300 grand, $25,000 a month, it's plugged into the special reserve account. And for whatever reason, I went back and looked at the June 17th treasurer's report to look at what the balance was there, thinking that from that point, we're going to add $300,000. And the starting point back in June of 17 is $2,004,000 and change. But the balance at the end of June of 18 is $2,952,000. So it's like $500,000 increase, not just the $300,000. So the question I had, where is another $222,000 that's put into the special reserve? And I go back month by month by month to find something occurs between October and November. In essence, the October balance, ending balance for October, is not the starting balance for November. And the question is why? What magical thing happened that put an additional $222,000 in the starting point for November? Is it a mistake? I don't know. There's certainly no footnotes anywhere that would indicate what it is. But I would think there ought to be some explanation as to why there's $222,000 more that was added into the reserve. And there's nothing in the revenue and expense sheets that I could find that indicated anything other than the $300,000. So that's a question, and I would hope that at some point in time there could be some level of answer. The situation, though, I would relate back to your audit report that you just had a few months ago. And I would refer to page 1 from the cover letter from your auditors. And it talks about controls. Controls need to be implemented to prevent the occurrence of material misstatements in the presentation and disclosure of financial statements, including the related footnotes. Someone with the necessary accounting expertise to prevent, detect, and correct a potential misstatement in the financial statements or notes needs to at least read, review, and approve of the financial statements for this to no longer be a material weakness. I don't know if it's a weakness, but it's certainly material, it seemed to me, that this amount of money is floating around. My other comment had to do with your budgets in general and the budgeting process. You continue, at least since I've been coming here, to do your budget and compare it to the prior year budget, which seems, from my standpoint, crazy, ludicrous, call it whatever you want. But normally budgets are compared to the prior year. And I could think of 2 reasons that you do what you do. One of which is probably, this is the way we've always done it and we're not going to change. The other reason could be just plain deception as to what the true increases or decreases are this year in your budget versus what you're actually spent in the prior year, meaning what you just finished up. I would suspect probably both come into play here. But I would just give a couple of examples that my 5 minutes hasn't run out yet.
You're getting close.
Getting close. Let's just take salaries of administrative people. The current budget is $525,000. The budget last year was $508,000. So that's a reasonable 3.3% increase year over year. But what if we look at actuals? So if I look at your June year-to-date revenue and expense sheets, which are in your packet this time, June year-to-date, salaries for administrative personnel comes in at $469,000. The budget for New Year is $525,000.
You can finish
A
up
very
these.
lofty 11.9% increase in actual spending. So there are many situations like that. And I just question that if you're really interested in monitoring what's going on, that the trustees would convert to budget versus prior year. Thanks for your time.
Did anyone else in the public wish to address the board? Anyone else? All right. Hearing none, we'll move on to item 3, the consent agenda. Does anyone have any changes?
Yes, I have a change to the consent agenda
Okay.
from the June 13th board meeting. Under election of officers, Jay Fisher was not approved by unanimous vote. Fisher was unopposed. I suggest the word change from unanimous to unopposed.
Okay. Any other changes to the consent agenda? All right, is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
There is a motion and second. Is there a discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none. Roll call, please.
Richard Flint,
Aye.
Thomas Hummel,
Aye.
Liz Sullivan,
Aye.
Emily Swistak,
Aye.
Laurie Wang,
Yeah, aye.
Marjorie Bartelli.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 4 on the agenda is the director's report. Director Weinstein.
Okay, well, I'll start with something fun and celebratory. 14 of us participated in the annual 4th of July parade down Main Street. So I want to thank President Fisher, Treasurer Wang, Vice President Hummel, and Trustee Flint for participating with staff. We had a great time. We all walked, we tossed candy, we handed out bookmarks, wished onlookers a happy 4th of July in some serious heat. We also heard a lot of positive comments. We had a lot of people yelling, "We love the library," and "There's Mr. Will." So it was very fun. So thank you all for those of you out there watching, for participating, trustees and staff. So there's some great photos on Facebook and Flickr if you've missed us live. We've also were represented at the Eyes to the Skies this last week. We were there on Friday. And we are also stationing a table at the French Market in Lisle. So we were there last in June, and then we will also be there this Saturday. We'd like to participate in all of those community events. And in other news, we experienced yet another power outage this past couple of weeks at approximately 8:15 on June 25th. Again, according to Commonwealth Edison, we were not the only ones affected. We closed the facility at approximately 45 minutes before closing, the official closing time, and then our IT manager came in after hours to make sure that our server room was properly taken care of and other technology components were shut down properly, and power was approximately restored around 10 p.m. that evening. Next, State Representative David Olson will be here yet again. He is from the 81st District. He will station a table right outside these doors in the lobby on Wednesday, July 18th from 11 to 12:30. So if anyone's interested in talking to David Olson, he will be here then. And then Summer Read. Summer Read is still in full swing. Participants have until July 27th to log their reading minutes and or book reviews. And we have a very fun Summer Read wrap-up party that is scheduled for Saturday, July 28th from 11 to 2. We will have an ice cream cart. We will have live music and all ages craft. And we will also have a very exciting outdoor inflatable obstacle course. This is something new for us. So I expect all trustees will be in line for that, and I'll save your space. And that will be happening outside, of course, weather depending. And there will also be a prize pickup station for those who have completed their reading goals for the program this year, so they'll have a table out there for that. So far, approximately 1,300 patrons have registered for Summer Read, and this includes children, teens, and adults. And the youth program is tracking their reading minutes, so as of tonight, there's over 322,000 reading minutes logged. So good going, guys. And then lastly, after last month's approval of to purchase a group membership for United for Libraries for the trustees, I registered and paid for the membership in June, and then just yesterday received the letter. It's a welcome letter that states that gives us our login and our password, so just want to let you know we have it. I will be passing it on to trustees tomorrow morning. They do note that it is a paid group membership and cannot be shared with other boards or other members of the public, and that you'll have a special access called the Trustee Zone. And in that Trustee Zone, you will find current and archived copies of The Voice, and also toolkits and publications specifically for trustees, as well as special offers from the American Library Association, as well as United for Libraries chapter. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Other questions for the director?
Could I ask on the adult services report, which is page 49 of the packet? I'm sure this is very small, but third paragraph on the bottom that starts with Gene Demus, blah, blah, blah. Transparent language online to S10 people. Is that a typo? Or is there a special code that I'm not aware of? S10 people.
It's probably just 10.
That's what I thought too. I didn't know if we were busing in some automatons. Also, I'd like to congratulate Tech Services. We learned that they're experimenting with the R language to do some meta-analysis. I use that in my courses. It's a really good language. It's free, as in it costs $0.00, and you can do a lot of sophisticated things with R and Python, although I don't use Python. So congratulations to the Tech Services staff for that. One more thing. I noticed that we're not voting on the .02 ordinance tonight. We usually do that in July. Was there a decision made?
Last year we didn't do it in July. We did it later. And last year there was some discussion about incorporating that into the corporate fund. So I am looking into it. I'd like to discuss it with our attorney.
Thank you.
So,
Well, go ahead.
okay, so I do have a couple comments. I mean, I'm looking at the monthly circulation report for June, and you look at year to date, like now we have a full year of data versus previous year. I mean, I think the trend has, doesn't really look very good in general in terms of the overall circulation for both adult. Youth is basically flat, and then so the only thing that really goes well in terms of positive trend clearly is the digital media. So I'm thinking since now we have a year worth of data, I'm wondering whether Tatiana and your staff could help us like deep dive a little bit to say, hey, there's a major events or things happening that drive the decline in overall circulation. Is that because, we talk about the space, we turn the book over too fast, or it's because of power outage you mentioned that we just have some more down days than last year. Just some major things that impact it to say how, as we talk about strategic plan, where we can, areas of focus, we can increase our, whether circulation or new library card holders and things like that. I think it will be very useful since now we have enough data.
Yeah, I think after the turn of the year, it always warrants a deeper dive to see. I know that programs are also increasing, so the use of the space is changing, and physical materials are obviously on a decrease, but that's nationwide. So I can come up with something maybe in the next month or two to look at some of the trends.
Because that will really help us in our strategic planning discussion.
Yeah, I agree.
Another question on that same report. I know our literacy software usage hours are increasing. Do we have any feel for whether those are Lisle residents or other people? use
I
it?
would have to look into that. I'll check with our literacy librarian.
Okay, that'd be cool. Thank you.
Then a question on the power outage again. Has it, I know I asked, has the village been talked to on this issue with anything?
I spoke with the village. They're experiencing power outages too. And who did we
I
speak
mean, in
with?
the specific neighborhoods, because this is where it seems to be happening a lot. Are they aware of it, like the frequency in this neighborhood?
I let them know what we
Yeah.
were experiencing, but I don't think they thought it was unusual. And I can't remember who we spoke with recently about rolling brownouts and,
That one day?
yeah.
I think, because
Yeah, they thought that that was, we talked to the Lisle Village, what do you call it, Services Department, and they mentioned that the one time there was a power pole that had been hit,
Right, that one was a
well,
definite
that was on
accident.
Acton, yeah,
Right,
yeah, that
right.
one.
so that took out a wide area.
Yeah.
And then they were suspecting that there was some more like what they call brownouts, where they reduced the power slightly.
Yeah, that was not active.
How many outages have we had, say, in the last 12 months?
Oh,
At
gosh.
least two, I know.
More than that, maybe, well, we've had some flickers, some surges, so
Well,
a
counting
good-
the flickers and the surges.
I would say 5 to 7.
We used to have one every 2 years for a long time. And now it's 5 to 7 in what?
Couple of months.
In a couple of months.
All right. Any further questions for the director? All right, then. Item 5 on the agenda is the Assistant Director's Report. Assistant Director McCullough.
Okay, the event team met several times this month and they reviewed our very successful summer read kickoff. And then they also were making the finalized plans for the summer read wrap-up. One of the things that they had worked on from looking at previous events was realizing that we needed to have staff out at the crosswalk. And that worked pretty successful, kind of directing cars and pedestrians at that stop sign back in the parking lot there. So that we'll continue to do that for the big outdoor events. And as Tatiana mentioned, we have an obstacle course, crafts, music, ice cream, and there'll be a table for adult services for the pickup of the prize. And youth services will continue to have the children complete the program up in youth services that day on our wrap-up event. Summer lunches have been going well. Those are on Mondays, where the library is hosting it here in the meeting room. We started on June 11th, and as I said, we've been doing this on Mondays, and we've hosted like 31 children. Many patrons visiting the library have commented to staff wanting to know how that they could contribute to this program, and so we've directed them to the West Suburban Community Pantry. The pantry was responsible for helping get volunteers for this program, and they also prepare some snack packs for children and families to take home after they're done that day. And again, the Northern Illinois Food Bank is the provider of the lunch meals. Talking about outages and some training, with the power outages, staff have been updating their emergency procedures and looking at equipment such as flashlights and our ceiling lighting and also exit lighting. And the staff have replaced batteries in several of the emergency lighting fixtures. And staff have also been reviewing the steps that they take when we have an extended power outage. So it's good review for all of us. Due to the continued surges and the need to reset the HVAC system, sensors for the air handler that services youth services and adult services on the east end was repaired today. And the control panel for that air handler will also be serviced soon. So I think those things will help with our HVAC service. I've met individually with members of the safety team to review their reactions to the power outages and as we prepare for our safety drills on our staff development day. The team's going to be meeting later this month as they do instruction for that day. I am researching options for the trustee training on the topic of sexual harassment, and the training should be completed by November, so we probably will have an answer of a good training option for about next month.
We're looking at webinars for that.
And I just wanted to mention how much fun I had marching in the 4th of July parade, and it's really fun to see your neighbors and friends along the parade route. So, and I got really, it's the same thing. They just love seeing us all in the purple shirts. That's it.
All right, thank you. Are there questions for the Assistant Director?
Has the number of kids at the free lunch program gone up since the first one? Or is it about the...
This past week we had 11 children,
Okay.
so I think that's a good number.
Thank you for doing that. I think that's a great public service, something we haven't done in the past, so hopefully
Yeah.
with the marketing, word of mouth, we can see the numbers maybe increase.
Right, I think we're going to have, our communications coordinator's gonna put out another blast this week through Facebook and probably on Twitter. And also then we'll report back after we complete the program and talk about what we thought and what the volunteers thought too, so.
I've been getting a lot of compliments for that, so.
All right, any further
That's
For the
it.
library. Though.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Ben. Item 6 is committee reports. Finance.
A couple quick updates. We received one more payment, so that reached 48.28% for the total allocation received. We also had a finance committee met on June the 27th and talked through a couple items. One is our investment. Representative came and did a portfolio performance review, and our investment policy actually probably need to be reviewed and updated because last update was back in March 11th, 2015. So our next finance committee will review the finance investment policy again. And since the yield curve has been fairly flat, and we talked about bias our future investment toward more short-term investment like CDs and money market versus long-term bonds, and also talked about potential investment in high-quality commercial paper as well. And we reviewed the cash flow forecast and talked about consolidating some accounts for better efficient cash management. And we also discussed some updates to the financial report. So in the new fiscal year, you'll probably see additional slight change in a reporting format going forward on the revenue and expenses. We'll publish the finance committee minutes probably next board meeting, we think.
If we have a meeting, if a committee meeting.
Yes, we'll have committee meeting probably right before the regular meeting and publish as part of the board package next month. So that's it.
All right, the questions for the treasurer?
Just have a really, probably something I should already know, but what's the difference between the corporate fund and working cash as two separate? That's just on an item on the treasurer's report, and I've been meaning to ask it, I forgot.
Do you want me to take that?
Yeah. why
Okay.
don't you do
The
that?
corporate fund is our operating fund. Everything comes out of there, salaries, equipment and maintenance, all of the general operating expenses. Working cash is I wish I had the actual definition here, but it's a separate fund for should the library not receive taxes, then we could pull from that fund. But that fund stays stable. We would have to reimburse that fund. Statutorily, we have to reimburse that fund. So I can send the board the actual legal description of what it's for, but
Yeah, they actually, if you look at the annual audit report, in there it has clear definition of each of the fund, how it is used, and subcategory funds as well. So it's by legal statute that we have to maintain the definition of those funds. And next time maybe as part of
I could just
you
send
can
it to the
email
board after
It should be, if you go back to the audit report, it's all in there for the definition.
Got it.
It's emergency funds, right?
for taxes only, to
Oh,
pull from.
I thought it was like emergency expenses too.
Let me look into it, I will send it to you, but there's specific uses
I'm
for
sure.
it already.
Further questions for the treasurer? Hearing none. 6B, personnel policy.
Nothing to
Treasurer
report.
Bennett. Physical plant.
No, that's that.
Strategic planning. Our
Well,
next-
Tim, before we go to that,
Certainly.
can I just point out that I think it's time for us to take another look at the special reserve resolution. I can see that emerging from either finance or physical plan. But, you know, we got yelled at last year by the public for not having a very detailed one. And there was quite a bit of discussion, not all of it well-informed, but nevertheless, I remember the last two special reserve resolutions and why they said what they said. And as we're entering the home stretch of our strategic plan, I think it probably makes sense to start looking at that resolution, explaining why we're saving money.
I think that's a good idea in terms of how we're working on strategic planning, and you know that's a big part of it as well. And I know physical plan has started to create a list of short-term, medium-term projects. So I think that's a good idea to,
Yeah, I mean,
at this time, to combine them all.
Yeah, I
into a
mean,
new
probably best after the strategic plan, would you agree, or
Or when we start,
get in the home stretch?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say.
Well, speaking of strategic planning, our next meeting is 2 weeks from this evening.
It is. July 25th. And then the last meeting revolved around the facility. We identified some problems and suggested a few solutions. And we looked at what other institutions were doing regarding universal design and just discussing what options are out there for us. Our next meeting will focus on prioritization and confirmation of some documented deficiencies. And I'm currently summarizing some problem statements as requested by one of our members as a recap. So I just want to remind all Strategic Planning Committee members that in the very first meeting you were provided with a paper as well as digital copies of a number of findings, data, we had some consulting reports as well as some committee reports, about 6 years worth of data. So I just ask you to please review those prior to our next meeting so we don't have to review from scratch. However, I will provide a recap because I think it benefits the committee. It helps me kind of recenter, and then we can move on to the other focus areas. But in terms of facility, if you could just please review those, just briefly before we move on through the prioritization project for the next meeting. I think that's what will be on our agenda. So I know that Liz recommended some problem statements specifically, and we'll look into that reading.
Question.
Yeah.
Have we set any future dates besides July 25th?
We don't, but Beth's got some dates. That's our latest. I think when we first set up some dates, we had like 2 or 3, and I think the 25th was the last one.
Okay.
We secured, but I know there's some other dates that has. But we can discuss that on the 25th and bring a few more dates for everybody.
I would like to see that. And I also would like to, after we set those dates and after our next meeting, I would recommend, the last meeting, I found it very useful to have Elizabeth and Will in their comments. Some of them that was really good information for me. And I would suggest, I think the physical plant needs to meet. I think after the July 25th meeting. And I would like to suggest to Tom, I don't know how anyone else feels, that we may include, along with Beth and you, of course, Will and Elizabeth, just to get, I think we need to get moving somewhat. I realize the plan is not set. We probably have several more meetings. But I feel some sense of urgency to really explore, for me, our staff's input. And I learned a lot in the last meeting from, as I said, from Will and Elizabeth. So I would recommend that to you, Tom. I hope you would consider it.
We'll talk about
it.
Thank you.
All right, any other further comments or questions on Strategic Planning Committee? All right, item 7 is unfinished business. Confirm appoint standing committee members. I'm going to reappoint the committee members as they currently are, so that's sort of another year, as the committees are currently constituted. Item 8, A, new business. Approve resolution 18-03 authorizing preparation and filing of the B&A action required, vote to authorize preparation and filing of the B&A ordinance. This is, well, we'll have a motion to put it on the table.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 18-03, authorizing preparation and filing of the B&A.
Second.
There was a motion in the second. A resolution that authorizes the staff to prepare the budget and appropriation ordinance, which we will discuss next month, the draft, and then in September there will be a public hearing.
And adoption.
An adoption, yes. Any discussion on the motion? All right, roll call, please.
Thomas Hummel,
Yes.
Liz Sullivan,
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
Emily Swistak,
Aye.
Lauren Wang,
Aye.
Marjorie Bartelli,
Aye.
Richard Flynn.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. The resolution 18.03 authorizing preparation and filing of the B&A is approved. Item 8B under new business is approve the public notice of public hearing on the B&A.
It's a month.
I move to approve the public notice of public hearing on B&A.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and as just said earlier, this sets the public hearing for the B&A on September 12th at the hour of 6:30 in this room. Is there discussion on the motion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Liz Sullivan,
Yes.
Emily Swistak,
Aye.
Lauren Wang,
Aye.
Marjorie Bartelli,
Aye.
Richard Flynn,
Aye.
Thomas Hummel.
Aye.
All right, by a vote of 6-0, the motion to approve the public notice of the public hearing is approved. Item 8C is appoint committee to review the minutes. Now, we do this every year, and
Want me to take that?
for the,
For the IPLAR.
IPLAR,
So, every year we appoint a committee to audit the minutes for the prior fiscal year, so it would be fiscal year 17-18. It requires 2 trustees to review the minutes and then cite any discrepancies or if they have any questions, to send that to the administration, and then the administration will review those and then bring it back to the board and discuss them. So, without any outstanding business or issues, so that's basically it.
Emily, are you willing to serve on the committee to review the minutes along with me?
What is the timeframe? Just
It would be before the August meeting, because in August, we approve the IPLAR.
Okay.
So on IPLAR, we have to check the box that says XYZ trustee and XYZ trustee reviewed the minutes.
Sure.
It takes about 3 hours if you do it all at once.
Yeah. That's what I would say, 2 to 3 hours. All right,
Okay.
so the point the committee to review the minutes is myself and trustee Swistak. Moving along to item 9 is opportunity for trustee comments. Trustee Bartelli, do you have anything?
I don't know if this is out of order,
Okay.
but may we go back to the B&A? May I ask a question about that?
Okay.
Okay. I'm wondering what the process is for that and how it's prepared. I seem to remember at the last Finance Committee, on the agenda, there was a B&A overview. Is that correct? Can we get the recommendations should that come from the Finance Committee for us to review before the B&A? Rather than, so I assume next month we're going to get the information.
You will receive a draft, as
Okay.
you do with any board packet. So
And
you'll
that's
receive-
prepared by
Staff.
staff. So is there any benefit to,
Yeah, we talked, Tatiana and I talked about it. So at last finance committee, we talked about the process. We didn't really
Right.
review any
Oh,
agenda
okay.
items.
The process.
Right, and then so as the staff prepared their BNA, the reason why we thought about we bring to the whole board is we're going to have, the board is, everybody's interested.
Sure.
So therefore, it's probably good to present to the board if there's specific line item that we really can't get a resolution or need some deeper dive, that could be, those items, specific items could be the, bring back to the finance committee for discussion recommendation going forward.
Would that then happen before we vote on it in September? That's the key, I think. Maybe that's what
We
I'm
could,
getting at.
but just remember, the BNA is the budget, which we've all walked through.
Right.
It's just going to be the additional appropriation that's added to it. So it's a document that we've all kind of dived into in terms of the budget. We're just going to add the appropriation and then have that amount, or if there's an additional appropriation to the line, it'll be added in the draft. And we can discuss that at a board meeting, and if there's questions or amendments to it, we can make it there too.
Can the items in the BNA be lower than the budget line items?
Can they be lower? I'm sure they could possibly be lower if that's the board's wish. That's not usually the intention of the appropriation. Most appropriations are higher because in case you spend beyond the line, you have that ability legally to spend.
Well, I remember being told, oh, don't worry about, not getting this fully discussed for the working budget because we'll vote on it at the B&A. So it's kind of like, okay, so, which is, once we do the working budget, it sounds like it's a foregone conclusion that the B&A is going to be more.
It's whatever the board wants it to be. I will
Okay.
prepare something that is a recommendation from staff, but in the end, it's your decision.
Okay.
Anything additional? Marjorie? Your 5 minutes?
Oh, my goodness. Get up and do a song and dance?
That's-
No, that's good. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you. I have nothing. Trustee Flint? Trustee Hummel?
I'm good.
Trustee Sullivan?
I guess I would like us to try and use community volunteers more than we do. I know that, we've recently hired somebody new, and I guess my question is, was there a way to shift around the workload, increase what the volunteers do, and potentially not hire new people? Because one of my goals, and I've stated this, is to lower overall employee expenses. And so I would think that that'd be a good way to do it at a lower no cost.
Trustee Smith?
Is it my turn?
Thank
Are
you.
you done? Okay. This just came up yesterday. I was talking with a friend of mine who lives in the library district. And she asked me a good question, and I didn't have the answer to it, so I wanted to bring it up to the board and see what people's feelings are on it, and maybe, I don't know what the legality is behind it, if there's something you can talk about, personal policy or what. But she had a book on hold that she sent her husband to pick up with her library card, and he was not allowed to get it. And so we were talking about how, and I said, well, I know that there's privacy issues and different accounts and all of that. And then she said, but I gave it to him to get it, and then it was going to save me a trip, and I just wanted him to pick it up for me, and he couldn't. And so I said, I don't know if there's a way that we could put on like a special permission on an account, and then she said like a HIPAA for library, like that kind of idea, but because of the privacy issues. And I honestly didn't know. I said, I don't know what to say. I will bring it up at our board meeting tomorrow night. But I didn't, so anyway, I'm just sharing that was and I don't know if any other patrons have expressed that same concern, that their spouse or partner or something has not been able to pick up something for them with that patron's library card.
Yes, I've heard that as well.
Well, there's an answer there.
Mhm.
There is an allowance note field that
Okay.
we can put into someone's account.
Okay.
As long as both parties are aware
Okay.
and we speak with them.
Okay.
So they can call us, they can come in
Okay.
and say, you know, I allow my
Okay.
spouse to.
Because, and, you know, we talked about how, like, the children, and then how, like, I can give permission to some of my children to access the computers, but not all of them, and, you know, that kind of stuff, and those special permissions.
Yeah,
So-
we have notes fields where we
Okay.
can add that information.
Okay,
Yep,
so I will let her know that.
please.
Wonderful, thank you.
Great. Trustee
No,
Wayne?
that's
I'm good, thanks.
I forgot to ask that question.
All right. That is the end of our agenda. Anyone wishes to make a further motion?
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:40.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.